Hilchis Melachim Umulchamis Perik Shmini. So this Perik Bika talks about the dinim of Yifas Teir, that the Teir was matter if a person is b'mulchama and he sees a Isha Yifas Teir, so the Dibra Teir Kadeged Yetzer Hara is allowed to be Bo'ala Big Yusa. This Kamadina, what happens Behemshach to the fact that he was Bo'ala, and how is he Bo'ala? But there's a special din that Dibra Teir Kadeged Yetzer Hara, because the Teir knows that he's not going to be able to hold himself back, so the Torah was mattered. That's Benegei Yefas Teir. And then there's another din that the pasuk says that you'll come into Eretz Yisrael and you'll find Batim Maleim Kol Tuv. And Chazal tell us that Batim Maleim Kol Tuv means Afilu Kadli de Chazira. Even the backs of the necks of a Chazir was also mutter when they came into Eretz Yisrael, into the Mulchama, they were mutter to eat Kadli de Chazir. Now the Rambam learns that these two inyanim are the same idea. Just like there's a special heter for Yefas Teir because Tok for Yitzre, because there is strong Yitzre Hara. So Al Derazeh, when a person comes into Mulchama and there's nothing else to eat, and the only thing there is to eat is a dover which is osur, so even though it's not Sakonis Nefashis, if it would be Pikuach Nefesh, obviously it would be Mutter, even not a Mulchama. But even though it's not Pikuach Nefesh, there was a special heter that the Torah gave to eat Dvarim Hasurim when you go into a Mulchama, and that's a general din by every Mulchama. That's the Rambam puts together these two dinim. Perik Shmini. Chalutzi Atzova, kshiyikonsu begvul hagoyim, v'yichbishu eisam, v'yishbu mehem. So the din is at that point in time, when they're conquering someone else's land, is muter lem lechel, nevelis, utrefis, upsar chaziru kiyetzbek. They're allowed to eat dvarim hasurim, imroiv, if he's hungry, v'limotza mayechel, ela macholis elu asuris. No, it's not that's muter. That's is dvarim hasurim. But since it was a situation where he's roiv, and he doesn't have any other macholas, so mainly he's mutter. Ela macholas elo asuras. V'chein sheisa yain nesach. Piashmu lamdu, ubatim aleim kol tuv, orpe chazerim ukietzvim. That even orpe chazerim were also mutter when the Yidden came into Eretz Yisrael, and the Rambam is teaching rules that they're in a mulchama, and the person is roiv, and he doesn't have anything to eat other than these, he's allowed to eat it, even though we're not talking about Pekuach Nefesh. But nevertheless, the Torah was matter in such a situation, b'shas ha-mulchama to eat it. V'chein, the Rambam continues halacha beis, boil isha b'giyusim tok v'yitzri. The Pashtus Advarim is, that the Mefarshim also explain, that the Pashtus Advarim of the Rambam, that he puts together these two inyanim. There's a din that the Torah was matter to eat dvarim asurim b'shas ha-mulchama, because of the necessity of it, because he doesn't have mayechal except for these. And al derazeh, the Torah was matter to be bail isha b'giyusa im tok v'yitzri. Avalei yivul esa v'yelechla, even though the Torah was matter to be bail, you can't be bail v'yelechla. Elamachnisi l'teir beisa, you have to bring her into your house and then be with her for a month, like we'll learn by Hamshach, and then make a decision whether or not she should be continuing and she should become a giyeris and become his wife. Shenamar v'isa b'shivya eshes shvaster. And then the whole Hamshach Advar. So you can't just be boiled this Isha Yefas Teir and leave her. You have to be, if you want to be boiler, you have to take her back into your house. Now v'asur as nochadin v'asur livelesa bia shniya achi yisana. The first bia was mutter b'giyusa. Masha'enkin, the second bia would be asur until you marry her, and you can only marry her after she becomes your wife. So there's two dinim. There's a din you're allowed to eat dvarim asurim, and you're also allowed to be boil isha b'giyusa. Now this is Shitas HaRambam. The Ramban in Chumash asks a kasha, and again in Chumash Bamidbar. So we have the Melchem Sichim V'Eik, which was discussed earlier in Parshas Bolak, and then we have in Parshas Matas the Melchama of Midyan, where they had Melchama with Midyan. After Midyan, over there's the whole parsha of Kasher and Kalim. I mean, Kasher and Kalim with Elazar, the whole dinam of Giyul Yakum, we learn out over there in Parshas Midyan. So the Ramban asks, why up is this whole din of Giyul Yakum only belongs in Parshas Midyan? Why wasn't it earlier by the Melchem Sichim V'Eig? Why wasn't discussed over there also Benegei the Kalim that had Giyul Yakum, what you did with those Kalim? So on that the Ramban answers that by Sichim V'Eig, since they were part of Eretz Yisrael, so the din is when you come into Eretz Yisrael, so even the Dvarim Asurim Amuter, so Memele, there's no din of Giyul Yakum. Masha'en came by Melchemes Midyan, which Midyan wasn't part of Eretz Yisrael, so Memele, over there's the din of Giyul Yakum. That's how the Ramban answers this kasha, why in Parshas Bolak there's no discussion of the din of Giyul Yaakov, because over there we're talking about after Melachim Mesichem Ve'eg, which is Eretz Yisrael. Now, if the Ramban would hold, like the Rambam, that the whole gather of the heter of Kadla the Chazira when you come into Eretz Yisrael is a special heter, it's not like it's mutter. It's just under the circumstances, it's mutter. Because lepel they have enloy maliechol, so at that point in time you're allowed to eat it. So it's a heter from a mulchama. So what's the difference? We're talking about Sichem Ve'eg in one mulchama, in the mulchama of Midian. So we see from the Ramban learns that it was a special heter. There's nothing to do. It's not pshat. It was like a tchiyah mitzad the mulchama. The pshat is that when the Yidden came into Eretz Yisrael, all the dvarim hasurim that they found were mutter. Sachidush. That afilu kadla the chazira wasn't under the circumstances of the mulchama. The kadla the chazira were mutter, and therefore the kalim, which had Giyuli Akum in it, there was no need to kasha. Even though you're going to use the kalim later, you're not going to use the kalim Shasa HaMulchama. So this kalim have dvarim asurim. The answer is no, because since when you came into Eretz Yisrael, at that point in time, everything was mutter. So whatever was in the kalim, which could have been called dvarim asurim, is not asur, is considered mutter, and therefore later when you use it, it's not a problem. So this obviously not like Shitas Haram. According to the Rambam, the whole din of Batim Leim Kol Tuv is similar to the Heter V'Yifaster. So under the circumstances, the Torah was matter. It was like a Tchiyah. Masha'inkin, according to the Ramban, it was a special Heter when they went into Eretz Yisrael, and has nothing to do with going to other Mulchamas. Here the Rambam is speaking about Stam Mulchama, not a Mulchama dafka with Eretz Yisrael. So general din of going to Mulchama, there's a special Heter. According to the Ramban, the Heter that the Rambam is saying B'negei Sh'ar Mulchamas doesn't exist. And according to the Ramban, the heter in Eretz Yisrael is a different type of a heter. It's a heter legamri, and therefore even the Giyul Yaakov. Because theoretically, if you take from Moshel, the Bnei Godim Neiruvim, when they came to Eretz Yisrael and they found Dvarim Asurim, they can bring it back, Be'ever Aliyad, and eat it there. Because it's Dvarim HaMutarim, it's Be'etzim Adavar HaMutar, according to the Ramban. Masha'enkin, according to the Rambam. So you say this, Dikam what's this gather of the heter of Batim Uleim Kol Tuf? Halachi Gimel. Ein Eishes Yifas Teir Muteres, Ela b'shas hashivya. Shnema v'reisa b'shivya eishes yifaster. Why you're being, she's being captured at that point in time as mutter. Bein psula, bein beula, bein eshesish, she'ein ishes legoyim. There's no ishes legoyim. So even though legabi agoy, mashal agoy is nerag if he's baal ishes chaveri, because lepeil v'davak be'ishtei v'lei be'ishes chaveri. So the issues of one guy is considered issues legabi the other guy. But legabi Yisrael, that ishus is not considered ishus, and memela, if it's mutter, if the yid is mutter, the goya, so he's mutter also in a goya which is an eshusish. There's no din of eshusish. So the kitzur, the din is a yifas teir is only muteris b'shas hashivya. Much if later on she's already, it's not already b'shas hashivya, so then it would be also. Then the pasuk says v'chashakta vo. So we learn aval b'sheini yofa. It doesn't have to be that she's a fast there, but she's a fast there. But as long as v'chashaktava, he has a cheshik for her. Bo, so we learn out v'lei b'chaverta, which means shel yivul shtayim. He's only mutter in one yifaster. He's not mutter in two yifaster. V'lokachto l'chol isha. So again, shel yikach shtayim and yivul achas v'yaniach achas la'avei lachiv. So you notice you could only take one for yourself, and you can't take one also for your brother or for your father. It has to be v'lekachto l'chol isha. Only take one l'isha. Minayin shalei yil chotzena b'mulchama. And a person not allowed to be bailer in the middle of the mulchama. There's a middle of the open area. Shenemer v'havesa yachnisena l'mokum poni v'achar kach yivil. So there's memes two dinim. The one din is that the shas habiyah, it has to be lei yil chotzena b'mulchama. It has to be v'havesa. You should put her in a mokum tzunua. You should be bail her b'mokum tzunua. Then there's another din that he shouldn't be yivalei seviyelachlei, like we learned before in halacha beis. El machnisa l'teich beisei. That after he's bail, he has to be machnisa l'teich beisei. And then there's the seder, as the Rambam will say, b'hamshel, the seder how you fearzach with her. So b'kitzur, the din is that a person is mutter b'faster. He's only mutter b'shas hashivi. He's not mutter later. If she was in captivity and then later on he had a cheshik in her, then he's not allowed to. It's only b'shas hashivya at that point in time. Is v'chashakteva. There was a heter. He shouldn't be yochatzena b'mulchama. He should do it b'mokim tzanua, and then he shouldn't be bail and then leave her, but rather he should havesel teich b'secha. Then there's the din also that it's only one yifaster and not two, and he can't take two, one for himself and one for someone else. Halacha dal. Hakoyin muter bifaster bebir rishena. The bir rishena of a yifaster is even muter l'kein. Shalidibra teira el keneged hayetzer. So even though a kain b'chlal, a kain is special issa to marry a goya mitzad a zayna, a kain is not allowed to marry a zayna. Male, every goya has a din of a zayna. But nevertheless, a kain over here, the heter of yifaster extends to a kain as well. But that's only the bir rishena. Because lepel, even if she's going to be nisgayer, lepel she's a gieris, he's not allowed to marry her because a kain is also begieris. She has a din of a zayin. V'keitza din yisrael b'faster. So a kain is muter b'faster, but only bir rishena. V'keitza din yisrael b'faster is achar sheyivolana bir rishena v'hi b'giyusa. After the bir rishena, which she's still a goya, is im kibla Allah lehikonis tachas kamfi ashchina. She wants to become a yid. She's ready to become a yid. Is matbilo l'shem geris miyad. So then she could become a geris. She becomes immediately a geris. However, v'im kibla, she wasn't interested in becoming a yid. Is teisiv bebeisi shleishim yem. He should take her home, and she should be by him for 30 days. Shenama revachsa esavia ves'ima yerech yom. V'chein beicha al dosa. She cries about it. She's missing her das, her religion. He doesn't stop her. No, she's going ahead and being beicha al dosa. He was bail her. Now he brought her home, and now she's in his house for 30 days. Umigadelas es sipornei. She doesn't cut her nails. Umigalachas es reisha, and she shaves her head. Kadesha tizganu beinu, because the Torah doesn't really want him to marry her ultimately, because she's coming from a goy, originally a goya. But I'll call upon him kadesha tizganov. So, however, lepel, he's going to have that option to marry her. And v'tia imei babayis nichnas v'reya isa yetze v'reya isa kedei yokutzba. The Torah wants that he should not be interested in her. She should be disgusted with her. So mainly he has her in his house. She's megadel siporneo. She's megalachas esreisha. He keeps seeing her in that matzav. V'yigalgal imo kol shleishim yem. He stays with her for 30 days, kadesha tekabel, in order for her to be makabel, if whether or not she wants to become a yiddisha. Again, if she wants to become a yiddisha right away, she becomes a gieris right away. So there's not a problem. She becomes a gieris right away. But if she doesn't want to become a gieris, he brings her home, and she's in that matzah for 30 days, and he's megalgalim in order for her to become a gieris. Im kibla, if she was makabel to become a gieris, v'ratzaba, and he's also interested in her. He's not mechuyev to be interested in her. Whereas the fact that he was bo'aleh b'giyusa is not mechayev him that he has to take her later as a wife. But im kibla, if she accepted to become a gieris, and v'ratzaba, and he's also interested in her, so then as harezum is gayer, so she becomes a gieris, v'tivelis gechol hager. And then it's tzricha la'amten shleisha chadoshim. She has to wait 3 months in order to get married after she's a gieris, which does mean 3 months from the gieris. Chayde shel b'chia, the month already that she was beicha, so she was already 30 days without a bia from a goy, and also shnei chadashim achrav in another 2 months, and then v'neisa esa b'ksu b'kedushin, then he marries her. So in other words, the seder was he was originally bo'aleh b'giyusa. So again, if she wanted to become a gieris right away, so she becomes a gieris right away. If she doesn't want to become a gieris right away, so he brings her home, and lepel, she's also tzipornea, and Gil Chesreisha, and he looks her, sees her in that matzav. Then after 30 days, so then if she's interested in becoming a Gieris, and he's interested in marrying her, so then she becomes a Gieris, and he has to wait another month, and then he can marry her. The Imle Chafitzba, and if after that he's not interested in her, is Mishalcha Lenafsha. He has to send her away. V'mocheresa, but if he goes ahead and sells her, he takes her now. He's taking her as a captive, as a slave, and now he's selling her. V'mocheresa eva b'leisaseh. Shenamar u'mocher leisim keren bakosev v'leisis amar bo tachas asher inisa. Don't use her tachas asher inisa, because since he was bail her bal korcha, so Mimelis, he has no right to go ahead and sell her, and he has no right to go use her. Ve'ena mechura, and if he does sell her, so lepel, the sale is not a valid sale. U'mazer adam, he has to give back the money. In other words, he took the money shleikadin. He goes ahead and takes money to sell her. He's taking money shleikadin. V'cheinim kovash esa acha sheniva lo l'shem shivcha. After she was nivel, if he held her as a shivcha, as a slave. So mishi ishtamish bo, once he uses her, is aver b'leisasa. Shenamer shaleisa samer b'shalei ishtamish bo. So the din is that after he was bail her, he brings her home, and she's again asir siporneh gil chesreisha, but he's not let a seller, he's not let a user. He has there's an option for her to become a gieris, and he'll marry her. And there's an option, he's not mechuyev to marry her. She's not mechuyev to become a gieris, and he's not mechuyev to marry her. But I'll call upon him if she does choose to be a gieris and he chooses to marry her, so he has to wait for 3 months to make sure there should be 3 months, which is the month of being in the house originally plus 2 months. But he's not let a seller and he's not let a user. Halacha zayin lei ratzis leizgayer is mizgalgnu imo kol shnei masar chedesh. He continues. He wants it. If he doesn't want, so mishalcha nafsha. But if he wants her to marry her, he wants to marry her, so he wants her to become a gieris, but she doesn't want to become a gieris. Is megalgal and imo kol shnei masar chedesh. And lei ratzis after 12 months she doesn't want, is mekabel sheva mitzvah shnestav b'nei neach. ומשלחה לנפשה, והרי ככל הגרם התשובן. Aber ve'ena neseis she'asir le'lisa isha shlei nesgayer. In other words, again, the beer Rishena was mutter. After that, there's no beer that's mutter, and the only option is for her to be nesgayer. So if she's nesgayer, she can be nesgayer shlei bertzena. So if she's nesgayer, so she's a geir, so he can marry her. Masha'ekin, if she doesn't want to be nesgayer, so you could keep her for 12 months and try to persuade her to be nesgayer. And after 12 months, if she still doesn't want to be nesgayer, and she's mekabel sheva mitzvah neach, so then she has to do like a ger teshuv. And Memela, you can't sell her, and she goes away. We'll soon see if she doesn't want to be makabel, the Shev Mitzvah Neich, she doesn't want to be makabel, not to be able to be the Zorah, so that's a different story. But I'll call him, that's the Seder. Now, so again, the Seder is that there's the Bir Rishena, and if she wants right away to be Nizgayer, so she's Nizgayer and then he can marry her, then you have to wait the Shleish Chodshech Avchana. If she doesn't want to be Nizgayer, so he brings her home for 3 months, and for 1 month, once a month. And vice versa, he doesn't have the option to say he's not interested in being Magayer, or she's not interested in being Magayer. So maybe let her go right now. The Rambam doesn't seem to say that option. And that was l'chura what the Rambam said earlier, that it has to be avalei yivalei seviyelachlei ela machnisa l'teich beisei. In other words, he has to be machnisa l'teich beisei. Is that an obligation even if they both agree? In other words, he was ba'ala, she's maskim, she's not interested in him. He's maskim, he's not interested in her. Is there still a din of machnisil terbese? I don't know. The Rambam said before machnisil terbese, but I'll call upon him. There's such a din of machnisil terbese, and then he's with her for 30 days. If after the 30 days he's not interested, so then he could say he's not interested in the shel chalanafshe, which why says he couldn't have said that earlier. He has to wait for 30 days to say he's not interested. Now, if she says she's not interested, so again, if they both agree they're not interested, it's the chavadagut. But if she says she's not interested, and he says he's interested, so now they wait for another 12 months, and he tries to persuade her. In other words, he could insist that she should be in his house for 12 months. She can't just go away, and he can insist to try to persuade her that she should become a gieris and he'll marry her. But lepel, if after 12 months she still insists that she doesn't want to become a gieris, so then she's mekabel on herself the shev mitzvah neneach, and then he's mishalchel nafsha. Halacha ches, nisabra mibir rishena. If the Yifaster was nisabra mibir rishena, so basically she was a goya. So he's a hayavlad ger. If this child is going to want to become a ger, he's going to become a ger. You know, he doesn't have a din of a son of a, even though he's the son of a Yisrael, but since his mother is a goya, so memeli he has no yachas to his father. Nochamal nisabra mibir rishena hayavlad ger. If the vlad wants to become a yid, so he can become a ger, ve'eni bnei l'davim nadvarim. He has no din of a ben to the person that was bola, to his father. So Bekitzer, a child of a Yefas Teir from the Bir Rishena has a din of a child of a Goya. Now that's only talking about if she never became a Gieris. If she never became a Gieris, so someone was Baal Yefas Teir, and she was Nisabra, and then she had a child, and she never became a Gieris, so that child is a Goy. That child is a Goy, has no Yachas to his father at all. And in order for him to become a ger, it has to be, if he's a ger, wants to become a ger as a cotton, so it's only matbil nesel das bezin. Bezin is zeicha for him the gerus. Masha'in kain, if the mother became a gerus while she was muberes, so then you don't need that there should be matbil nesel das bezin, because lepel, when the mother becomes a gerus, so the ibur which is in her also becomes a ger. So male, since he was neilad b'kedusha, he was nelad from a isha which was a Israelis. So even though she was Nisabra when she was still a Goya, but Lepel, since she became a Gioris while she was a Mu'beres, so the child that she gives birth to has a din of Yisrael. That's the Rambam Paskin read in Yisuri Biyah. So this din that the Rambam says that Bezdin Matbil Neis Al Daitan is talking about that she was Nisabra Mibir Shena and she remained a Goya. So this child is a Goy, and if he wants to become a Ger, it's only through Das Bezdin, and has nothing to do with the mother. There's nothing to do with the mother. Now, V'Tomar Mibir Shena Shel Yifas Teir Hoysa. Tamar was the daughter of David, but it was a Mibir Yishena Shel Yifas Teir Hoysa, so she really didn't have a din of a daughter of David. Avar Avshalom Noilad Me'achar Nesuim. Avshalom was born after the Nesuim. So Avshalom and Tamar Be'emes shared mothers. Because Be'emes Tamar is like a little bit shver, because the Rambam in the beginning of Halacha Ches is talking about when the child was born without the mother becoming a Gieris. Because again, if the mother were to become a Gieris, so the child wouldn't need Gieris al Das Bezdin. So over there we're talking about that the mother was a Goya, and she was a Fasteir, and she was Nisabra Mibir Yishena, so the child has a din of a Goy, a regular din of a Goy. The fact that she was Nisabra from Yisrael doesn't make any difference, and if this Goy, as a cotton, wants to become a Ger, he needs Das Bezdin. Now, Lepel Tamar, her mother became a Gieris while she was Muberes. So Tamar Mibir Yishena Shalifas Teir Hoysa, and Lepel, because if she wouldn't have been nailed after she was Nizgaira, the mother was Nizgaira, she wouldn't have any relations through a mother. She wouldn't have a din of a mother either. Because Lepel Tamar had a Yiddish mother, which was originally a Goya. She became a Gieris, and her father which was David, but Lepel didn't have a din of his father. Aval Avshalom nailed me'achar nesuim. Avshalom was nailed after David was already Noisei, the mother of Tamar. So again, David was Baal, the mother of Tamar, and Lepel, she was born. And Lepel, then Avshalom was born later, after the Nesuin. So Avshalom and Tamar were brother and sister through the mother. They shared the same mother, but they didn't share the same father. Because Avshalom's father was David, and Tamar's father wasn't David. David's father biologically was David, but Alpi didn't have a din of David. Nimtzas, Tamar was Aches Avshalom Me'imei. Tamar was Avshalom's sister Me'imei. Umuteres L'Nosil Amnon. She was mutter L'Nosil Amnon because Amnon was also a son of David, and he was a son of David from a different wife. So in Mela, they didn't share the same father, they didn't share the same mother. Because Lepel, Amnon and Tamar weren't brothers and sisters, even though Amnon and Tamar were both the children of David, but since Tamar was Nelad Mibir Yishena, so Memeli, he didn't have a din of a son of David. So the Rambam is just bringing over here this Inyan of Amnon and Tamar to bring out that a child of a Yifas Teir has nothing to do with the father. That's the Nekudas Advarim. The child of a Yifas Teir doesn't have anything to do with the child, with the father. So over here by Tamar, she didn't have anything to do with David, and therefore she was mutter ba'amnin. And al derech zeh, a child of a Yifas Teir needs gerus because it has nothing to do with the father. I mean, it's not. The dimyan is like a little bit of a shtickle modern dimyan. There's two dinim here. There's one din over here that a yid, a Yisrael that's Baal Goya, so the child is not his child. The child is not his child. And then Lepel, if this Goya became this Gaira while she was Muberes, so then the child doesn't need gerus. If she wasn't this Gaira, so the child doesn't need gerus. It's another din. Now, if she was Nizgaira and then she had another child later on, so this child that she had while she was a Yiddish woman, so Mela has a din of a sibling to this child that she'll have later on. So Bekitzer, so Avshalom and Tamar were Ach va'achis from the mother. Masha'enki and Tamar and Amnon weren't related at all because Amnon was the son of David and Tamar was not didn't have a din of a daughter of David because she was nailed Bir Yishena of Yifas Teir. Halacha Tes. Yifas Teir shel Yirotzis lo niach avodah zara la'achar hashneim osir chedesh. In other words, you waited for 12 months. We said before that you she's Mekabel Shev Mitzvah Nech, which one of them is obviously not to have Avodah Zarah, and then she goes away. But if she doesn't want to Lahaniach Avodah Zarah, L'achar Shnei Masar Chedesh, is Heir Genesa. So, sure, she's killed. The question is, why is she killed? In other words, is she killed because she's not accepting, she's an Eved Avodah Zarah, so why do you have to wait 12 months? What's this cheshbon of 12 months? So l'chura, the din is that them is by women, this whole din of not accepting, in other words, not to be kofen avodah zarah, l'chura doesn't apply. But haraya, we learned before that the ear, which was leihish shlima, so you're harging only the zachar and not the nekevis. So l'chura means the nekevis, even though they didn't really accept not to be avodah avodah zarah, you don't kill them. So why over here you do kill this yifas teir after 12 months? So that's a dion about it. I'll call upon him yifas teir shirulatzis laneach avodah zarah la'achar shnei masar chedesh, is a Heir Genesa. V'chein ear, and the Rambam is comparing this to a ear she'esh shlima, in kerson lehem bris, ad sheyichpru b'avodah zarah, v'ya'abdu es kol mikei misel. So in order to make a bris with the ear she'esh shlima, obviously we're talking about the ear which is outside Eretz Yisrael, because the ear in Eretz Yisrael, you're not allowed to be keres lehem bris, le'sichers lehem bris we learned before. There has to be sheyichpru b'avodah zarah, v'ya'abdu es kol mikei misel. V'yikablu sh'ara mitzvah sh'nestav b'nei nech. Only then could you be keres bris with an ear she'esh shlima. Shekol goy shelikibu mitzvah sh'nestav b'nei nech Heir Genesa im yesh nitachas yadeinu. A goy which is yesh nitachas yadeinu, and he doesn't want to be makabel mitzvah sh'nestav b'nei nech, so the Rambam says Heir Genesa. And that was the din that we said before, that when you have a city that don't want to accept the sheva mitzvah b'nei nech, so the mela is Heir Genesa. Halacha Yud. Moshe Rabbeinu lehinchel atera v'amitzvahs ela liyisrael. Shenam mirasha kilas Yankiv. And also l'chol haretzel is gair mishara omis. Shenamar kachem kager. So Yidden are mechuyev, were given the Torah, they're mechuyev in Torah mitzvahs, and anybody that wants to become part of the Yiddish folk also has that option, and he also will have the schus of Torah mitzvahs and also the obligation of Torah mitzvahs. Avol mishalei rotza, someone that's not interested in becoming a Yid and memela having the oil of Torah mitzvahs, ain't kefenesel lekabel Torah mitzvahs. There's no chiyuv for a person, for a goy, or to force someone, a goy, to mekabel al Torah mitzvahs. A goy could remain a goy, al pi Torah. Aber v'chein tziva Moshe Rabbeinu pi agvura, lokov is called boyo elam lekabel kol mitzvahs shenestav. There's taka no chiyuv for Yidden to see to it that the goyim should become Yidden. But there's a chiyuv for Yidden. Moshe Rabbeinu was mitzvah, he was mitzvah to Yidden. He was mitzvah to Yidden to lokov is called boyo elam, to force the entire world to be makabel the mitzvah sh'nesav b'nei and v'chol mishalei kibul, and someone that doesn't want to be makabel the mitzvah b'nei is yaharik. Not only someone that goes against Torah mitzvahs is yaharik. There's then as a goy azarase zui misase. In other words, anything that he's what we'll learn behemshech, anything that he's over from the shev mitzvah b'nei, he's chayiv misa. But over here, the Rambam saying nochmer that the fact that he wasn't makabel shev mitzvah b'nei v'chol mishalei kibul is already yaharik. Someone that is makabel the sheva mitzvah nech, there's a chiyuv lokos b'yoidlam makabel comes sheva mitzvah nech, and lepel hamakabel someone that is makabel who anikra ger teshuv b'chol makom. He is referred to as being a ger teshuv, and in order for that kabbalah to have a din of a kabbalah, and he should have a din of a ger teshuv, if it's tzorich lekabel olav b'fnei shleisha chaverim, he has to be makabel b'fnei shleisha chaverim. And that's considered a ger teshuv. So that's the number one. So there's a chiyuv on Yidden to see to it that the entire world should be makabel kol mitzvah sh'nestav b'nei. They should be makabel kol mitzvah sh'nestav b'nei. There's a din. There's a chiyuv to see to it that they should be makabel fnei shleisha and become a ger teshuv. The Rebbe writes in L'Kud Sichos that there's no chiyuv. The chiyuv is that they should makabel it. There's another din. If they're makabel, they should have a din of a ger teshuv. So that means that they have to be makabel fnei shleisha. But it's two separate dinim. There's one thing is that they have to accept upon themselves, not there's accepting upon themselves that they're going to do it, and then there's accepting upon themselves to give them a title of a ger toshev. That's vice not from the chiyuv lokav is called boy elam. The chiyuv lokav is called elam lekabel and to actually do it. And v'tzorich lekabel ol b'fnei shleisha chaverim, to have a din of a ger toshev, you have to be b'fnei shleisha chaverim, and that's din number one. And then the Ram continues v'chol ha-mekabel ol of lomul. Someone that accepted upon himself to be mal, the overall of Shnei Masur Chedesh v'leimol is hareze kimin shebomis. Now, l'chura, the mil is not really from the Sheva Mitzvah Neinech. So what's this idea of a goy accepting upon himself to be mal? So we'll see Behemshah that the Ram holds that when a guy is mal l'shem mila, l'shem doing something which the Eibishter wants, so that's considered a dover teva. That's considered a mitzvah. He doesn't have an obligation to be mal, but when he goes ahead and is mal, it's not nothing. It's something. He accomplished something. He was mal, which is a connection to the Eibishter, as we'll learn behemshech. So now, if a person accepts upon himself lomul and lepeli doesn't fulfill his what he accepted upon himself, his kabbalah, so mele v'choishish is brought down to a choishish that maybe the other thing that he accepted upon himself is also not sincere, and therefore he has a din of a min. That's some way of learning pshat over here. It's not so clear. There's kol ha-mekabel of lomul v'over of shnei masr chedesh v'limol is areze kimin shebom. It says a Gemara. It's not so clear the pshat. What did he do wrong? In other words, he didn't do his. He was makabel on himself, and he didn't do what he was makabel on himself. I'll call upon him. That's what it says here. Halacha Yudalef. Kol ha-mekabel sheva mitzvahs. Have mitzvahs. A guy that was makabel sheva mitzvahs. V'nizr la'seisam is areze michasidei u'meseilam. And v'yesh lei chelik le'elam haba. Aber v'hu she'yikabel esam v'yasa yishkabel esam v'yasa esam mishnei tzivu bem HaKadosh Baruch Hu batera. V'heidiyonu ha'yidei Moshe Rabbeinu shebnei neach mikoydem nitzavu bem. So in order for these mitzvahs to be considered mitzvahs, which are proper mitzvahs, is he has to be makabel the sheva mitzvahs that the Eibishter was mitzvah batera. Not stam the Eibishter was mitzvah, he was mitzvah batera. And he told us through Moshe Rabbeinu that Yidden before Matan Torah were mitzvah bem, and Moshe Rabbeinu by Matan Torah told us this din. Avalim osyon mipnei hechra das, if he did the sheva mitzvahs, not because of the fact that kach tziva HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'teirosei, and ayidei Moshe Rabbeinu, you don't know ayidei Moshe Rabbeinu shebnei neach mikedem mitzvah bem, is ein ze gerteshav, he doesn't have a din of a gerteshav, ve'eini mechsidis u'misa'elam, and some girses have ela michachameim, some have v'lei michachameim, and some girses have ela michachameim. You know, he's michacham of the u'misa'elam, but he doesn't have a din of chsidi u'misa'elam because he's not doing it because the Eibishter told him to do it, but rather he's doing it mitzad hechra hadas.